I wanted to talk just briefly about photos, and specifically printed photos. I'm doing some research for episode 4, and I needed some photos of the house where my grandfather was born and grew up, which is still here in Petersburg. And so in episode 4, I actually do a photo walk, and I walk past the house, and you can see that. And I wanted to find the photos of it. And in doing so, I found a photo I didn't expect to. So my grandfather, I'm assuming my grandfather took this. It could have been my father. But in the news, so the cruise ship, the United States, it sat for years, and nobody could afford to refit it or do anything with it. So it's being towed down to Florida to sink, to turn into a reef. And what do I find? I found a photo of the United States cruise ship. And I'm assuming my grandfather must have taken that, or my father, when they were in New York. But it reminds me of how cool printed photos are. Looking through a photo album, nothing beats it digitally, in my opinion. Even if the photos are from before your time, there's something fascinating about it. And holding the print, digital just doesn't match it. And I don't think if my grandfather had a mobile phone, that his photos he took would still be accessible. They'd be long gone. But here's a photo of my grandfather. I think he was a teenager here, and he's got some of his artwork framed up. He liked to draw. And the other cool thing is he's standing in front of Seward Luggage, which was the world's biggest manufacturer of luggage some years ago. And some of the buildings are still there. You'll see them in episode 4 as I walk past. Sadly, a large chunk of the buildings burned to the ground and just crumbled. But some of it's there, and they're apartments. But I just wanted to talk about that. Find that. It's in the news, and here my grandfather had a photo of it. And just the paper, I feel like, will outlast a lot of the digital stuff we have now. 100 years from now, where will your digital photos be on your phone? But you'll probably still have a photo from 200 years ago that someone in your family took. So I like the resilience of photos, and it's just paper. And look, it survives years. So there's nothing bad about paper and prints. Which makes me also recommend that if you are a photographer, to print your work. Either yourself, or there's so many services on the internet that you can use to print photos, all kinds of styles, metal prints, plexiglass, acrylic prints, paper prints, canvas, but print your work. It's worth it to hold it, to look at it. And the other thing too, is if you go to an exhibit to look at art and photos, it causes you to stop and really look at the photo, to analyze it. When you're looking at photos on your phone, say you're on Instagram, what are you doing? You're swiping. You're looking at a photo maybe for a second or two, and you're going past it. But when you have a print in your hand, you take more time to look at it. So I say prints are awesome. I'm still not a big fan of film because it's such a hassle. But printing your photos, I highly recommend.